you know, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
this is gonna be a 2-hour item.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. And we have a quorum.
Yes, we have.
Posting of the agenda.
Yes, it's been posted.
No, it's not, sorry.
Malik.
Yeah, Irma just looked at.
Now we're wired for sight and sound.
Sorry,
Here's Debbie, here's a whole bunch of people. Now we have a.
we have a quorum. Okay, posting of the agenda.
It's been posted?
Any changes to the agenda?
No, there's no changes to the agenda. I have some comments on the consent calendar, but no changes to the agenda.
Okay, we're gonna proceed to comments from the public. We have a few. We're gonna start with Eric Rodriguez. You can make your way to the podium.
Good afternoon, Eric Rodriguez, Southern California Association of Governments, LA County Affairs Officer. There's a handout in front of you. I've left a few. If you need another copy, let me know. Back in September of this year, SCAG released our 4-year public participation plan. It gets released in accordance for the next SoCal Sustainable Community Strategy. The PPP plan is your opportunity to input how SCAG provides outreach opportunities in the public. Without your input and how we go out in the community and how we work with our stakeholders like city municipalities, community transportation commissions is vital. So every 4 years this is released. So we have until November 7th for your input. We really want local cities and COGs to provide that so we can go out and see how we can be of help to the community, who we should talk to, how we should talk to, and how that is defined in our plan. Again, that's November 7th. We have a dedicated public phone line. We also have a dedicated email contact, and then you can also mail it in any of your comments. Again, that's November 7th, our public participation plan. If you have any questions, I'll just be in the back, but the handouts are right in front of you for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment will be Brandy Keith. Make your way to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Brandy Keith with South Coast Air Quality Management District. I just wanted to share with you a couple of really exciting programs that we have right now. The first is a goods movement upgrade program for the goods movement sector. So if your cities are home to logistics groups or any rail lines, you may this may be of interest to them. This program is called Invest Clean, and it is divided into 4 different projects that include upgrades for Class 8 trucks. They are upgrades for cargo handling equipment, for charging infrastructure, and we do have a rail switcher program as well. Once again, that's called Invest Clean. Our other program is called Go Zero. This one is for residents, small businesses, and we also have a training element to it. This is a program that provides rebate funding for upgrading older gas burning water and space heaters to electric water and space heaters. So once again, those are available to residents, small businesses, and we will have a training element to it. Now, in the interest of saving paper, I have flyers with me, but I'll hold on to them. And if you are interested, you can let me know after the meeting. Be happy to give them to you, or I can also send them out to you. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have our last speaker. Okay, our last speaker isn't here, so we're gonna proceed with the rest of our agenda to the consent calendar. Is there, Jackie, did you want to make?
Yeah,
comments?
I have some items on the consent calendar that I wanted to bring to your attention. First of all, I am delighted to be able to report to you that yesterday we received the dues check from the city of Los Angeles.
All right.
So that's very nice. And then the second thing I want to report to you is a shout out, I guess, to Colleen Farrell, our communications person. We now have 500 Instagram followers and 1,000 LinkedIn followers as of yesterday. So she's pretty excited and I think if you aren't a follower, join the crowd.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll proceed with does anyone want to make a motion for the consent?
Second.
Motion second, the vote.
Okay, any opposition? Any abstention? Thank you.
Okay. We will proceed to the presentations. We have two presenters today. Our first is Adam Lane. Adam Lane currently serves as the City Policy and Government Affairs Manager at Waymo beginning in February 2024. Prior to this role, Adam held the position of Vice President of Government Affairs at the Los Angeles Business Council from September 2014 to February 2024, where responsibilities included overseeing legislative and policy strategies related to housing, transportation, and sustainability, among others. Adam's experience encompasses tracking legislation, coalition building, and managing significant policy summits, along with fostering relationships with governmental entities and advocacy organizations. Adam holds a master's degree in public policy from USC Sol Price School of Public Policy and a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Government from California State University of Northridge. Adam, welcome.
And apparently Waymo does not come to South Bay, so Adam is going to be on the screens.
Thank you. The only way I get around these days. Well, thank you all for inviting me, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person with you, but very much looking forward to presenting. I'm gonna screen share here, and then can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
Thank you. Well, appreciate that introduction. I am now this state and local policy manager in Los Angeles, but I think the city title is much more relevant for this conversation. Part of my role is managing our local government relations in the Southern California territory, in addition to some work across other states. Just to give you all a little bit of background on Waymo, and then I'll sort of get into any South Bay specific questions you have. Really, the purpose that drives us is safety. Unfortunately, there are way too many injuries and deaths that we see on our roadways, not only in Los Angeles County, but globally. And it's something that we believe is preventable by reducing some of what the very key causes of crashes are. Things like distractions with the growing use of cell phone usage, things like drinking and driving, getting tired. Those are things that our vehicle does not do, which immediately makes us a much safer driver overall. Just a little bit of background so you understand sort of how this came to fruition. We've actually been around since 2009, so it's been over 16 years that we're doing this work. We started as the Google self-driving car project. We became our own entity near the end of 2016, but Alphabet is still our parent company. But we really started by developing sort of an in-house suite of hardware to go on these vehicles. You can see this little bug car above 2013, which is our Firefly, our first prototype vehicle. And at that time, we had actually put together a sort of small sample of people to test out driver assist technology, which any of you, if you have personal cars that have sort of self-driving attributes or sort of enhanced cruise control, that's really what I'm referring to there. And what we found was that people were immediately on their cell phones doing their makeup, and someone took a nap. When we saw that, we decided we were going to shift to fully autonomous, but because we just believed you couldn't take the human out of the driver, no matter how much you automated it, if it wasn't fully autonomous. And then in 2017, we launched the world's first, or sorry, 2020, we launched the world's first commercially available fully autonomous ride-hailing app in the Phoenix market. And subsequently, we announced several markets, which I'll go through. To date, we have driven over 100 million miles fully autonomously. That is equivalent to hundreds of years of human-driven equivalents. We've done tens of billions of miles in simulation. So you can see in front of you, we test sort of different scenarios that we might come across on the road before we ever have to experience them. And we regularly testing across different states. So we do two different types of testing. One is called generalizability. That's really how quickly do we generalize to the infrastructure of a new area, to the driving behaviors and road patterns of that area. And the other is winter weather testing, a little bit less relevant for this group in the South Bay, but we are testing regularly in sort of the Midwest and the Northeast, harsher weather conditions like deep winter. Today, we're serving riders in Phoenix, which is a over 300 square mile territory. In San Francisco, a very dense, very difficult place to drive. Los Angeles, of course, and I'll show you the map near the end of where we currently are. Austin, Texas, Atlanta, both of which are actually in a unique partnership with Uber, in which we do not have our own app the way we do here in California, but rather we're exclusively on the Uber app. And then we've already announced for next year, and we have cars in these cities currently, Miami, Washington, D.C., Dallas, Denver, Seattle, London, and Nashville. And we also have vehicles right now driving in Tokyo. We're also serving airports. I think this is particularly relevant for our South Bay communities that surround LAX or Long Beach Airport. But we're serving currently Phoenix Sky Harbor. We do pick up and drop off right at the curb there. We handle very heavy congestion on holidays like Thanksgiving. And we've already announced and received approval to operate at San Jose Airport as well as San Francisco. This is just a sense of where we are operating, where we have vehicles, and where we've tested. You can see it's a pretty diverse mix. If I had shown you this map just a year ago, it would have been much more sparse. And that's really thanks to the increase in our technology, the ability to generalize quicker, and just the ability to scale up at quite an amazing pace as we currently are. If there's two slides you take away from this, this is one of them. There's still some confusion about what an autonomous vehicle is. As I mentioned before, if any of you have a personal car that has certain attributes that are autonomous attributes, you are driving a level 2, possibly a level 2.5 to 3 vehicle. Waymo is a level 4 vehicle. At no point during our drive do you have to pay attention, touch the steering wheel, do anything. You're not even actually allowed to sit in our driver's seat. You can sleep, catch up on work, take a phone call, or just enjoy the drive. When we're talking about a level 2 or 3 vehicle, or level 2 specifically, you have to pay attention. Your hands have to actually hover the steering wheel. So it's not a fully autonomous ride the way a level 4. Just because people are curious, a level 5, right now when we enter a market, we first go through phasing. So we drive manually. So the human is in the car driving with their hands on the steering wheel with all of our sensors on. That allows us to sort of collect the data and build the map, a 3D sort of map that our car operates on. And then we go to the next phase, which is human in the driver's seat with their hands off the wheel. So we can do some of our most difficult driving during that time. Then we remove it. We have employees like myself go through a phase of testing where we are hailing the vehicle, providing feedback. And only after all of those steps where we feel totally comfortable with the safety case, do we open up to the public. A level 5 means that we could drop our cars off in Torrance tomorrow without ever having had a vehicle there before, and we would start offering rides to the public. No company offers that currently. That is a little bit of the North Star for the industry that we are getting closer to, but that is really no one is offering that just yet. Just how it operates, very similar to traditional ride hailing, like an Uber or Lyft. You download the app, you put in your pickup or drop off location, the car comes to you fully autonomously. You unlock your door, you hop in. Once you put your seatbelt on, you hit the start ride button and you're off. So what makes this possible? It's a combination of hardware and software. The hardware on the vehicle is a combination of camera, radar, and LiDAR. We have 29 cameras on this vehicle. I don't know why not 28 or 30, but we like redundancy on the car. So in case the camera ever goes out, we have a backup to allow us to have a 360-degree view of what's going on around us. LiDAR, which for any of you who have actually been in a vehicle or seen the vehicle, is the spinning technology, the spinning hardware we have on the top, on the front, and on the side and the back. That essentially shoots out laser beams, bounces back off of those objects, lets us know exactly the location of those objects and the trajectory and speed of them. And then lastly, we have radar around the vehicle. Radar is much more effective where LiDAR isn't. So harsher weather conditions, deep rain, nighttime, all three of these technologies have strengths, and they also make up for deficiencies in the other hardware. So we feel very comfortable about this safety case where other companies have tried to do potentially camera only, or maybe some bit of LiDAR or some bit of radar. We feel much safer with having the whole suite of technology on our car. This is just a good example. This is deep nighttime where the camera, it's very hard to see that you have these two dogs running off leash and these two people running in essentially what looks like black clothing across the street. The combination of the radar and LiDAR on top is actually able to capture them much more clearly, allowing us to stop safely, protecting our passenger and pets and the owners as well. The other piece of this is the software. So we have a sort of a mix of traditional software on the vehicle and AI, but the car is making a couple decisions. It first decides, where am I? That is really based off of sort of navigation, but also that map that we have built prior to this. What is around the vehicle? All those sensors are intaking. Is there a pedestrian crossing the street? Is there a pet on the corner? Is there a bike rider? And it actually distinguishes between those objects. Then it actually identifies how fast are they going. Is that car going fast enough to make the green light? Is it going too fast? Is it going to blow a red light? Is that pedestrian showing intent to cross the street? And based off of all of that information, it's making the safest decision. So the best way to think about it is when you and I are at an intersection, we can maybe see a few things in front of us in our rear view and our side mirror. These vehicles are able to see 3 football fields in length around them when unobstructed, which is pretty amazing. Just another example, we get a lot of questions about vulnerable road users because that's extremely important, and particularly I would say in LA County where we don't always have the best active infrastructure. We are very, very safe around active transportation. We actually hear anecdotally from most of our bike riders and active transportation users that we give them the most space compared to any other vehicle on the road. And this is just a bunch of examples of amazing edge cases that we come across. Edge cases are things that are completely random, that are rare, but that we're able to handle. A bouncy house, fireworks and road debris, a group of cyclists coming down the road. So we come across tens of thousands of situations like these a week, and we handle the majority of them extremely effectively. Our next generation driver, some of you may have seen this sort of blue, almost minivan looking car around. This is the next model vehicle that we are currently in sort of the last phases of going through testing with, and then we'll eventually incorporate into our public ride. Right now, all of our vehicles are that white Jaguar I-Pace. All of our models, the current ones in the future, will continue to be electric. That means we're helping, push forward our sustainability goals, but it also means that we're investing in charging infrastructure in the regions that we enter. And on the right, which will be incorporated in a couple of years, is a Hyundai Ioniq 5, which will be manufactured in Georgia. That is a retrofit vehicle, whereas the blue one on the side is a purpose-built vehicle made just for Waymo. This is the second most important slide, again, if you take anything away. Safety is the main driver of this. We are the only AV company that actually releases the amount of vehicle miles we've traveled. We compare that to human-driven equivalents in the markets that we're operating in. And we are finding that after 96 million miles driven, we have 91% fewer serious injury-causing crashes, injury or worse crashes, 80% fewer injury-causing crashes overall, and 79% reduction in airbag deployment. What's critical about this is it's never going to be perfect. We have never claimed it to be perfect. There will be incidents. I will tell you anecdotally, a lot of the time it's actually us getting rear-ended, unsurprisingly, in Los Angeles County. But this is without fault. We are reducing injuries by this much. And even when there are incidents, that airbag statistic is critical because it shows that it's happening at a very low velocity. So it's unlikely that there's going to be an injury. Now, a couple of things make us successful beyond just the core technology. It's really about community outreach, making sure our technology is accessible to others. So we put together a Waymo accessibility network that is a group of vision impaired, hearing impaired, and physically disabled community representatives. And they actually provided feedback that made it into the app. So things like the ability to have screen reader support, minimizing walking time, so asking for a more precise pickup location, adaptive app navigation. We also have things like chimes. So if multiple Waymos pull up and you can't exactly tell which one's yours, you can play a chime for your vehicle. On top of the LiDAR, you can actually put in your initials. One other thing that's really important, I think, is as much as we can remove the human out of the driving equation, we can't. One of the other issues with traditional ride hailing is humans and their moral decisions. It is illegal right now to reject someone with a service animal, but unfortunately, we know far too often that occurs with traditional ride hailing where someone sees a service animal and cancels the ride and drives off. That will never happen in a Waymo vehicle. We will never reject you for the neighborhood you live in, for the service animal you have with you. As long as we are serving your service territory, we will pick you up and drop you off. Sustainability, as I mentioned, all of our cars are fully electric and will continue to be. And public transit, we're trying to be a good partner to public transit. We have never acted like we are a silver bullet that is going to cure transportation and emissions and safety and everything else. We really want to be a part of the great investments you all are making in public transportation. We are participating in LA Metro's mobility wallet, where we are one of the providers providing first mile, last mile connection for low-income riders that receive those monthly payments from them. We launched a program in Chandler, Arizona with VIA, where we are one of the official micro transit providers for their public transportation system. And we've launched several public transit credits to date to get riders to and from major transit stops. So we've piloted a bunch of different scenarios, and we, of course, are always open to conversations about what your cities are interested in to see if there's some sort of partnership that we can develop and help support your transit systems. And of course, it's extremely important that we coordinate and are responsive to first responders. We have a team of former first responders, California Highway Patrol captains, former deputy fire chiefs that go out. They provide briefings before we ever enter a market and during a market and after we're there to make sure that first responders know what to do around our vehicle, how to respond to them, what to do in case of an incident, where the insurance is, who to call. We show them the QR code that calls our emergency hotline. But also, and God forbid, if there's ever a scenario in which we are, for some reason, in the way of an emergency situation, we teach them how to take over the vehicle. And we've had this before. Again, we come across tens of thousands of situations, but occasionally if something occurs, we have first responders trained up on how to get in the car themselves and move our vehicle out of the way, which is extremely important. And just because we mentioned not being in the South Bay just yet, though we have a little bit in Inglewood. Right now, Waymo operates in a 120 square mile territory in Los Angeles, from Santa Monica to downtown, up as north as Hollywood, and as far south as Inglewood and SoFi Stadium. We're actually allowed to drive further south. Our CPUC approval allows us go to about Torrance at this current moment. But of course, for us, we need to get more supply into the market. We need to get up charging stations. We go incrementally to make sure that we feel very comfortable with our safety case and the riders that we're serving. So let me stop there because I've said a lot, and answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, thank you. I know we do have a question. Wally?
Where do I ask you?
Yeah, I can't hear from here.
Yeah, we can't hear. You have to turn the microphone on as well.
I'm going to quickly turn my light on. I apologize.
It works. Okay, I have a question. You mentioned partnership, and I'm wondering if there isn't a partnership possibility here, not only with transit, but with our own strategy, and that has to do with trip length, response time at high demand periods, and the fleet size to take care of all of that. And so I'm going to speculate that probably you don't want to take care of short trips at anything near peak time. And the fleet size of that would be huge. And the downtime, you'd have to park all these things somewhere. So we actually have a program where we specialize in local use vehicles with our specifically designed to go 1 mile or 2 miles. And so what would you think? I would think that Waymo would be happy to take the burden of that demand off of your plate, because it's going to be expensive and difficult for you to meet in an efficient manner. So what would you think about talking to our executive about some kind of partnership with you and your automated vehicles and us and our local use vehicle? What would you think?
Yeah, look, I'm always happy to have the conversation. I think if there are programs that you all operate in different cities or in the region that you think would be a good fit for Waymo, we have a partnerships team that is always willing to look into that. I will say we operate 24/7 in some of the most crowded parts of the city. We can handle any sort of congestion, but always happy to look at sort of different ways to help meet the demand that you all might be facing. Or, we know some of our cities have currently a lack of usage of some of the micro transit programs that they're running. So any way that we can plug in and help you all, we are absolutely happy to explore that.
That's good to hear, and an investment in these would be really very helpful. Anyway, Jack can be in touch, I'm sure.
We appreciate that.
Another question coming for you.
Hi, Adam. I was wondering if you can speak to if there's any plans with Waymo contributing to the No Car Olympics, or any work you've done with LA28 and how Waymo may play a role.
Yeah, we don't have an official partnership with the OCOG of LA28. I mean, I think there's a lot of discussions happening. So as you know, LA Metro has their working group. LA DOT is really in charge of the first mile, last mile. We have not yet seen a plan for what exactly that's going to look like. I think, there's a lot of potential good use cases for us to help fill some of those gaps. If I believe we're calling it a transit forward Olympics now, not exactly a car-free Olympics, not my terminology. But in that case, there are going to be very serious restrictions around the venues for safety reasons, which is absolutely understandable. I think the role that we can play is we're, of course, going to be operating citywide and meeting those restrictions, but there's also going to be a lot of neighborhoods that are going to maybe take public transportation for the first time or aren't typically used to it, or don't have really good micro transit to get them to and from those metro stops. I think we can serve as a really good first mile, last mile way to get people from the South Bay to a metro stop, from the San Fernando Valley to a metro stop, or even to all the different sort of community activations that they are planning on having. So absolutely, it is something we want to be a part of. We think it's going to be an amazing thing for our region, but also we don't want people getting in their cars and parking all over the city. So if we can actually have rideshare be one way to close the first mile, last mile gap to encourage people to get on public transit, then that's a tool that we want to be able to be served as.
Can I ask the second part?
Of course.
Thank you. I understand I take Waymo whenever I can. It's very cool, but it doesn't currently use or ride on the highways. Is that correct? Are there plans to map out the highways and add that as a service?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Right now, we are sort of in the final stages of testing on freeways and highways, depending what state you're in Phoenix, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. We will hopefully before the end of the year be offering some limited public rides. The way we'll likely do it is the way we likely rolled out when we first came to Los Angeles, starting with a smaller group and then expanding access to today. Anyone can download the Waymo app and take a ride. We'll probably go through an incremental process on freeways, but yes, we do have plans to offer a freeway service, and absolutely before the Olympics, we will have that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to hear you're a fan.
Adam, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but do you have a projected date to come into the South Bay, and how would you? You said you do this incrementally. Have you looked at how you would incrementally come into the South Bay?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. Firstly, we have submitted an application to the DMV. So just a bit of background so everyone understands how we're regulated in California. We're regulated at the state level, and we go through two agencies. It is an extremely arduous and lengthy process. We first submit to the DMV. We submit a specific map, which vehicles, our type of driving that we're going to accomplish. Once they approve that, we then go to the CPUC, which is a much more public process. The DMV, once we get approval there, our cars can operate on the road. We could do a delivery service, for example. Not that we do that in California, but when we go to the CPUC, because they regulate ride sharing, they would allow us to offer that commercial service. So in general, we have a DMV application in to cover more of the South Bay, if not all of the South Bay. But again, that would just give us the optionality. Then the decision that we make, we never spot locate our cities. So we always expand out from the existing map. So I apologize, but if you are a further South Bay city, we usually connect it to the existing market and build out a radius. But we don't have an exact timeline on. I will tell you, if and when we get that approval from the DMV and the CPUC, we are going to look to start expanding our map more southward, hopefully next year, and then in the years following that, further and further south.
Brett?
As a follow-up to that question, what is the outreach plan to these cities as you come into the South Bay? how do you coordinate with the city government? How do we know what's gonna happen so that we can make sure that our residents are both informed and maybe more understanding of how this works,
Yeah.
where your vehicles are going to congregate, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. There's 3 teams critical to that at Waymo. One is the policy team, so my team. We will make sure to reach out to you all, let you know, hey, we're planning on bringing vehicles to offer a public service. Would you like a briefing? You all sort of just got the briefing, but we would offer a similar briefing like this to others. We would show you roughly the map area that we would be operating in. And then, of course, demo rides. There is no better lobbyist for our company than the actual product. So anytime we come into your cities and you'd like a demo ride, or if you'd like a demo ride in the existing market, I would be happy to give you one at any time so that you yourself have a good understanding of the vehicle when you speak to your constituents. The other part of that is we have a really strong public affairs team that tends to go out and work with community organizations that are critical. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving, different chambers of commerce, different local associations that might be critical to you all. If there's anyone that you believe is important for us to brief, if you let us know, we are happy to go ahead and brief them, and then obviously look at partnerships for the long term. And lastly, I mentioned that first responder team. We're going to make sure we're coordinating with whoever's the proper police and fire in your communities before, during, and after we enter the market. And then, of course, I like to continually keep people updated while we're there. So even after we launch, we don't just disappear from the communication. If there are any major changes, I like to keep people updated on what's going on in Los Angeles and SoCal in general, so that you see, oh, there's freeways now happening in Los Angeles. Maybe that means freeways are coming to my South Bay community pretty soon. So we like to keep in touch. It is a key part of our transparency. And then, of course, those safety statistics I showed you all, we actually publish that on our website. So at any time, you all can go look at a downloadable list of incidents that we have unredacted more than what we provide to our federal regulators. And then we are regularly updating those statistics, comparing us to human-driven equivalents.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, might I suggest that, Adam comes back to the COG, at such time or after they get the DMV approval and whatnot, so that, we get that heads up, Brad mentioned coming to the city council, but also just, hey, bring it to the COG so we know what cities within the COG are gonna, get that level of service and go from there.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a quick question.
Alex?
Hi, Adam. Thanks for presentation. Do you have any slide to show us where your fleet goes parked and charged? Do you have any pictures to show us?
We don't have any slides or photos on that. What we do in markets is we have several different sorts of sites. So we have charging sites, service sites, and purely parking sites. And I will caveat that with one thing in the end. So in between hails, when our cars get to a certain percentage, say roughly 20%, they will drive themselves back to the depot. A human plugs them in, they charge, and then we unplug them and they're off and they charge. The other part of that is we'll just get something which we call off-hail lots, parking lots that we can park in so that we reduce the need for street parking, which is the other piece. One of the things that we do to reduce congestion is that we geolocate our vehicles in the area where we expect high demand, so a car might pull over onto a curb. That is something that neighborhoods are particularly sensitive about. So we've put in several things to make sure we don't bunch, we don't have multiple Waymos on one street. It is something I think when we first rolled out, we had more complaints than we would have liked, and we've put in several mitigations, and we don't hear it as often as we used to. So it's a combination of those geolocated sites near high demand areas, going to the charging site and going to our parking sites. And then we have a few service centers, but we don't have a overall map for that. But we don't put one in every city. We have them distributed sites around the region that we're operating in.
So if you move to South Bay, are you going to be looking for some type of sites, facilities for them?
Yeah, we would. I don't know a specific location, but we have a site, for example, in Inglewood right now. If we come further south, we're going to want a site or multiple sites in the South Bay. If you all have any underutilized lots that you are looking to turn into a revenue generating asset for the city, that is something we're always interested in, or if you have parking lots that are just not utilized right now, that's something that we lease on sort of short-term to medium-term leases, and it's just a really good way to turn what are sort of underutilized assets not bringing in revenue for our localities.
And you would probably, the all the infrastructure needed, right? All the charges.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So let's say if I would give you a parking lot or building, so you would
Yeah.
do all the infrastructure necessary for, for those cars to go in and charge. So you would do all that.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff Kieran with the League of California Cities. I'm curious, I may have missed it, I apologize, but how many vehicles are you currently operating in the Los Angeles area? And then also as a subset of that, how many parking lot or places do you have to park them?
Yeah, so we have over 600 vehicles right now in the Los Angeles market. And again, that's roughly like 7 jurisdictions right now, including unincorporated LA County. I would say we have roughly 5 to 6 depot sites that are distributed across the region.
Thank you,
Can I ask really quick?
of course.
How soon before you get to LAX? Wait.
How soon before you're going to LAX?
If you all are having conversations with your friends at the airport, please let them know that you are interested in us serving the airport. We've been in conversations with them. It is something we're actively working on. We completely surround the airport now. It is something that is highly demanded by our users. It's also super critical as we think about the World Cup, as we think about the Olympics. So many other cities that we operate in, like Atlanta, I've had officials request that we operate at the airport because human trafficking is a really big thing around major games. And if we can actually take the driver out of the car, it is a much safer situation. But also it's a big economic development play. It's not a lot of excitement sometimes when you land in Los Angeles and deal with a very highly congested airport. So to be able to get off and get into an exciting new technology that is safe and fun for people, I think would be great for the region. So as soon as we can go there, we are absolutely ready, and the technology is ready to serve the airport.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be sure to reach out to you to do another presentation as you come to the South Bay.
Thank you all. It's so nice to speak to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to our next presenter, also Adam. Adam Ellison. Adam brings over 25 years of experience as an affordable housing consultant with deep expertise in the formation and administration of regional housing trusts. He is the founding principal of Civic Home and serves as trust manager for both the Orange County Housing Finance Trust and the Gateway Cities Affordable Housing Trust. He also led the formation and launch of the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Regional Housing Trust. Adam's perspective on forming and administering regional housing trusts provides insight into their structure, funding strategies, and practical operations. To date, he has secured over $70 million in grant funding from federal, state, and local sources and implemented funding programs that have supported more than 30 affordable housing developments, resulting in over 2,000 new housing units over the past 6 years. Thank you, Adam.
Before you start, Adam, I just wanted to mention to the board, as you listen to this, the purpose of this presentation is to tell you the findings, the strategic plan suggestions and JPA suggestions. But we need you to be asked, and what do you need? What information do you need to make a decision as to whether your city wants to join a housing trust? So listen to this presentation from that perspective. Then we're going to ask you to take this back to your city and come back for a vote at a future meeting, probably November. But the purpose is to have you express today the things you need to know to make that decision. Go ahead, Adam.
There we go. Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me here. It's good to be back. Previously, I made a presentation that gave you an update on the various committees that we've been meeting with as we go along and do the research and due diligence to get ready for this. We're now at a point where we have a draft strategic plan. We have a draft joint powers agreement for cities to consider. And tonight, what I want to do, as Jackie mentioned, is give you a summary level of those two items. And then hopefully at the November COG board meeting, we'll come back to you with a consideration to vote for a recommendation to move this forward in the COG region. Prior to that November meeting, we will be certain that you get adequate time to review that draft strategic plan document. We'll have it as an attachment and email to you to review before your COG meeting, and also the draft JPA as well. And we will be meeting today. We actually met with a group of community development directors in the region to go over a similar presentation. And before your COG meeting in November, we'll meet with the city managers to go over the details. We'll dive into more details in those meetings than we do in this one. So this is a very summary level presentation to let you know where we are. So next slide. So going quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm going to break down basically the chapters of this strategic plan and give you a high level overview. I just want to point to the mission of, because that's kind of critical, is what is this all about? This mission statement, I'll read it for those who can't see. It says to empower the South Bay cities with flexible funding, strategic guidance, and technical assistance that advance local housing priorities, expand housing opportunity, and support the development and preservation of affordable and supportive housing across the region. So basically, what this mission says is we're going to be supporting communities with the production of affordable housing, and we're going to be using some of the funding that we are able to get and provide some technical assistance to cities to be able to implement some of the priorities that you believe are important in your communities. Next slide, please. One of the chapters deals with governance and staffing and an advisory committee. I forgot to turn off push the button again and go get the other things on the screen, just so we have it all there. There we go, sorry. So the governance is proposed that each city that ends up joining the trust has a representative board member that's elected by their own council. There's, in addition to that, two representatives that have affordable housing experience or experts in that field. They join the board to bring some practical experience to help the elected officials who may not have as much experience in that area. And then from the staffing side, we have a section that devotes to how are we going to staff the trust. And one option is to look at a model that's been done before by other trusts, which is to use some of the COG employees who are borrowed or paid for by the trust funding and have them work on the trust activities on a either full-time or part-time basis. So in that scenario, the COG staff could lend some clerical help or some accounting help to process invoices. The other alternative that's been done also quite a bit, and I'm involved with because I am a trust manager for two different trusts, is to contract that out with some consulting to help with the administration of the trust. It also can be a combination of both of those in practicality. The third item there is an advisory committee, which is a committee that helps support the trust board and brings some of the expertise of, say, lending or service providers who are working and engaging in the field so that the board gets them to look at some of the policy decisions before it comes to the board and give that feedback to the board. Next slide. So there's this whole section about the trust formation and implementation goals. This is a unique strategic plan in the sense that because we're proposing this strategic plan in advance, the first time it's the formation strategic plan, we need to put some goals in there that help the first year, possibly 2 years, to handle some of that initial work that needs to go on. So unlike some strategic plans that are, been around for many, many years and they get updated, This one has some specific ones that address what we need to do to get the trust formed. And so I'm gonna go quickly through these. I won't go into detail, but the strategic plan, when you get it, has a series of subtasks for each one of these. So the first one is an important one, which is, show me the money. Secure the initial capital funding commitments, because without that, we can't do much in the way of capital dollars going into projects. The second one is to establish transparent and accountable, sustainable governance. So this one addresses getting the board in place, getting the advisory committee in place, and all the policies and procedures like investment strategy, procurement policy, and put that all in place so that it outlines exactly what needs to go on in that first year to get going. And then the third item is to promote regional collaboration and shared solutions. Don't need to speak much about that, but working collectively and collaboratively with other groups and making sure that we're keeping people informed. Number 4 is to strengthen the local capacity through technical assistance. And so what we want to see here is that the trust is bringing either consultant help or in-house help that can help to, some cities don't have the expertise in affordable housing. They don't know how to do a request for proposal to developers to look at sites and negotiate loan closings and put programs together that can be implemented in their communities. The trust is a regional collaborative effort. And so the idea here is, can we work collaboratively in the region and provide some of that technical assistance that your staff and your communities might need to help meet your RENA numbers and your housing element goals? That's what we want in this goal. Number 5 is establish performance metrics and evaluation tools. So as a new trust, we feel it's very important to make sure that the trust properly reports its accomplishments and be able to use that not only just to track the success of the trust, but also to go after additional funding, to go to legislators and give them a report of what this trust is doing, to go to funding groups, grant award entities, and be able to have that metrics. You all know the efforts that's happening at La Casa. One of the things I like to, and I picked up very quickly early on, is that they have to be discretionary funds. I mean, the COG and the trust hopefully will get an award of the funds coming from La Casa, of course. But La Casa is holding back some funding, and they're going to have that discretion of giving that funding out to different organizations like trusts and COGs that are performing really well. And we think metrics and evaluation tools are super important. Number 6 is building the trust brand and demonstrating early impact. So this would be developing the website, developing a marketing strategy, working with an advisory group to get additional funding at state, federal sources, and making sure that we're meeting with legislators and elected officials to give them updates on what's available and what's happening in the trust. And then the last one, also very important, one of the most important ones, is to design and launch the housing funding programs. We've put into the strategic plan some suggested housing programs that meet a variety of funding source criteria. And that includes a homeownership program, an ADU loan program, the typical multifamily rental loan program that's for the rental of tax credit projects, a small scale rental program. So these are the types of programs we think may not be available or interested in every city, but we wanted to have a kind of a cafeteria of recommended programs that could be implemented, use the funding that's available, and depending on what the priorities are in the city, these programs would be available. Okay, next slide. So one chapter deals with the administrative and capital budget overview. So just speaking briefly about the administrative budget. Approximately 50% of the administrative budget needs for implementing this trust can be paid for by the Measure A funding that's coming into the region. The other half of that is proposed to be paid for by the city members who are coming in and joining the trust and getting the benefit of the funding and the technical assistance. We modeled the administrative portion of that based on other trusts who have done this on a population basis. And so we put that together in the table here, different population ranges and the proposed amount for what that annual fee would be. The assumption here is we don't know how many cities are going to join. The assumption that we based this on was that just over half of the cities would join the trust. If it's more, even better. If it's less, we probably need to look at the budget and see how it goes. But for now, we're anticipating success. If it goes well and about just over half of the cities join, then this is our proposed model for now.
Adam, can I just interrupt you to ask, is the assumption of Measure A paying half, is that an assumption or is it a ceiling that's in some, I mean, where did that come from? I guess, is it a requirement? Is it a prohibition?
No, it's just, we needed something to be in the model.
So, okay,
That's
so
all.
when
it
you
is.
say 50%, that's not like a cap, there's no.
No, even better. I can tell you in Orange County, out of 26 cities entirely in the county, there are 21 cities who have joined, plus the county of Orange. In Gateway, they've got, they actually have 26 cities that are entirely in the COG region. And in that one, they also have 20 cities who have joined as well. So that just gives you an idea of what other trusts. I don't know what the other trusts like San Gabriel, others, I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. Okay, next slide. This chart just shows you each city in the South Bay region, the population and what the fee would be as well. Next slide. And so now just briefly, I want to mention the JPA. So in 2022, legislation was added to the California Government Code authorizing the creation of the South Bay Regional Housing Trust. Since that time, there's been a lot of work and effort gone in to review and analyze, look at best practices, and then hire our firm. And we've been working for the past year to get to where we are here. The purpose is very similar to the mission statement. That purpose is in the legislation for the trust. So the mission statement kind of models a lot of the same emphasis here, which is public and private funding for the planning and construction of housing of all types and tenures. The term of the JPA, the effective date of the JPA, that is, will be the date of approval on the fourth city to join the trust. So as soon as 4 cities join, the trust becomes a legal entity and then goes out and continues to add cities after that. Next slide. I won't go into the detail here, but what I've done here in the JPA, there's a series of do's and don'ts. The do's are the things I've already talked about: financing, technical assistance, things we can do to help the production of affordable housing. But there are some limitations on what the trust can do. And they are mostly centered around ensuring that we don't remove from the city the land use regulations that you all have. We're not stepping into that area. We're also, the trust is not proposing to do any funding of projects or programs you don't want in your community. So if you don't want an ADU loan program in your community, the JPA is written to not allow funding to go into that community. Might be in other communities, they might embrace it, but we're not wanting to violate what you don't want in your community. Other than that, there's a couple other things on the screen here that will be in the draft JPA as well. Next slide. Mentioned the first one, which is the board composition. And then the second bullet there is, what if we want to withdraw after we sign in? The withdrawal clause in the JPA says that, you can withdraw at any time with a written notice and executed copy of the city resolution subject to receipt of that 90 days prior to the start of the fiscal year and payment of any administrative fees. The idea behind the withdrawal and that 90 days you can get out at any time, we just need to know in advance of the fiscal year budget so we can plan around that. And that's why that clause is in there. And next slide, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm available to answer any questions. As I said, this is a presentation and here to answer any questions. This presentation will be provided to you. The draft strategic plan will be provided to you. The draft JPA will be provided to you. And again, meeting with city managers in a few weeks. We have an appointment on that. And they'll get briefed as well. And hopefully they'll ask a lot of questions for us to help them along.
Any questions? Okay, we'll start with B, then we'll go to John.
All right, you mentioned about the advisory committee. So what are all the subject matter areas that typically a housing trust would use the advisory committee members for? And then related questions, how do you obtain these advisory committee members? Are they paid by the trust or are they volunteers? And then how does the trust assure that the information and advice provided by these advisory committee members is accurate and unbiased?
Yeah. So one thing we don't want on the advisory committee is conflict of interest. And so if any of the candidates for that advisory committee might apply for funding or be a part of the program, then we would want to vet that out. The types of candidates to look at on that advisory committee would be, for example, people from the lending institutions that might be providing financing, or they might be nonprofits that do services in affordable housing. I'm trying to think of others. Might be city staff that wants to be a part of the ongoing help to bring about policy to the board. Not paid, volunteer. Probably meeting on an as needed basis, and it might be as infrequent as once a quarter, a couple times a year, maybe more frequently at the very beginning of the trust formation. But I would imagine that once the first year, maybe 2 years, then it would be a couple times a year, because it wouldn't really, I would see a couple times a year for maybe a NOFA or a new program or more funding that comes out, just to get some feedback.
Okay, John.
Thank you. John Kaji, City of Torrance. Would the JPA have bonding authority?
Yes, it will. And one note with that is that La Casa is actually looking at doing bonding right now. They call it social bonding, because it is the funding that comes out of that bonding will be available for nonprofits. There's some sort of, I don't know all the details of the La Casa bonding, but what they're looking into right now is the possibility of offering COGs and regional housing trust the ability to join them in the bonding. So they're already doing a major bonding issuance consideration. And if the COG/trust has funding that they want to put into that effort, then there could be considerable savings for that.
Would these be revenue bonds?
You don't know the details of it. But I know that in another trust, Gateway, we're having a guest speaker from La Casa come next month to speak about the details of the La Casa bonding. And if you're interested, I can work with the COG staff to make sure they come to your meeting and do a presentation as well.
Well,
Thank you.
we talk about a little bit later also in my updates too on the La Casa bond. But yeah, they're just bonding the existing revenue from the Measure A tax stream. So yes, in that sense, it is a revenue bond.
And they also just hired, it's my understanding, they just hired their bonding counsel. So we're talking about 5 to 9 months or something before they are ready to really, get this done.
Okay, any other questions? All right,
You said you're gonna meet with city managers and you expect us to come back and vote in November. Do you plan on putting something on the city council agenda so we can talk about this with the public and have an open vote about whether or not we're joining? Because that's not a lot of time between now and November to get that done.
Oh, no, let me clarify that, that's
Okay.
important. We're meeting with city managers in their COG committee group. So, Jackie, that's, what is that called? The city manager?
Working group, yeah, like an association or something. I don't know what it's called.
So it's just them coming together to learn about this. You're actually getting this before they are. And we'll go over a little more detail with them. But then when we come back to you, if the FOG agrees to recommend the formation of a trust to move forward, the plan is to work with city staff and try to find if there's a date, if there's interest in coming to that city to do a detailed presentation to the full city council. That might be in January, February, where we come back and there's a staff report that we work with your staff on. There's the draft resolution, the JPA, there's a presentation, and your whole elected body gets a chance to hear that and then vote.
Okay, thank you.
If I can just mention, our original schedule was to come back in November. To be very honest, this is all new. Every time I get a briefing from Ronson, and he'll talk to you about it, it's different because La Casa keeps changing what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so I'm beginning to feel, I've talked to Ronson about it, that November is way too early because the city managers are going to hear this November 19th, and your meeting is November 20th because of Thanksgiving. So there's really no time for them to come back to you. So we'll probably be doing the December, the steering committee is the board meeting, but I don't like to make major decisions at a meeting at noon that not everybody can come to. So we probably won't do this till January. And so what we really need to do is we need to find out from you the kind, like the bonding, what kinds of questions you have, so that we can make sure that at the meeting we have. And what our meeting is going to be is a recommendation. Do we as the COG think this is a good idea? The things I wanted to put on the table before we leave this subject is that once again outstanding and things that I'd love you to give some thought to. The board of directors, if we are fortunate to have every city want to join, do you want 15 members on the board of directors? Do you want, I guess 7 is like the ideal size, and then we have 2, we have to have 2 experts. So and if you didn't let everybody on, what would the criteria be? So those are the issues. Is there maybe it's not an immediate thing, but then it's something that should be decided. The contributions, of course, we can use our Measure A funds for the trust, but if the Measure A funds can be used in some other way, we don't even know yet all the things that are going on. So would we want to put that much money? The fixed costs that Adam has come up with is an estimate, just an estimate. It's like $500,000, because you should know that even if the COG staff is doing this, we don't have the expertise. We have to hire a bank or a real estate person or somebody, whether there's a trust or there isn't a trust, because what I'm finding out now is we have money right now. And for us to figure out how we're going to use the money we have right now, we have a couple of cities that have very intricate projects. We're going to need a real estate advisor right now to figure out what's in the best interest of getting that money spent. We have to talk about whether we want to give our money to La Casa and bond it and have them bond it, and we have that money to use. So there are so many issues, and every day there's more, and they're changing. So I think we're going to have to appreciate the fluid environment and take our time a little bit, which I was not expecting, but I think that's the prudent way to go, and I guess that's what I would be recommending.
Bill?
Yeah, so just a couple observations, in the goals, the first bullet was secure initial capital funding commitments. I guess I would offer up, unless we get those capital commitment fundings, then everything else is for naught, right? San Gabriel Valley COG got 36 million from the state. which was obviously very helpful, right? I don't know that we're in the same environment that they were then. And then the only other observation was looking at the prospective dues, or what you want to call them. A city like Rolling Hills would get paid the same $10,000 as Lomita. So I guess I'd offer up, 10,000 people versus a lot less. So maybe consideration, do it, similar to what we do on dues for the COG, as opposed to just, hey, it's bucketed, if you will, for consideration.
Alex?
Can I just address, so the La Casa funding is guaranteed, it's coming, it's already coming. And it's available for use for the trust or the COG, depending on what you're doing. And then there is other funding that you could go after.
It's 5.6 million or something this year.
For our portion of it, 7.3 for both preservation and construction.
7.3.
That's an annual amount estimate based on sales tax revenue.
If we go with La Casa and bond our revenue, we would have $21 million to spend next year.
So from an implementation perspective, is there a way to, incrementally, let's say we say, yes, behaviorally, we want to stand up the housing trust. Without immediately being encumbered with all those administrative costs, is there a way to, let's say, incrementally build up the trust as we get that funding? Or is it kind of a, once you turn the switch on, you've got this big administrative cost that comes with it?
Well, what Jackie mentioned is that whether you form the trust or not, you still have funding that you're getting from La Casa at a minimum to be used for the production and preservation of affordable housing. So I guess the issue is, if you don't form the trust, then who's going to do the work? I guess the COG would be put on the responsibility to take that funding, deploy it, do the NOFAs, do the RFPs. The idea of the trust doing it, and we heard from Michael Jenkins, is he here tonight?
No.
No, we heard from Michael, who said that in terms of the COG being a lender, it's not in your bylaws for that. So there would have to be a solution of channeling the money and deploying that directly to a city to do all of that burden themselves, or because the COG couldn't be a lender in that. The idea of the trust is they could be a lender. They're set up that way. That's the purpose of it. So a lot of the administrative costs that we put into the draft budget for the trust itself, if the COG were to do a lot of that just shifts to the COG too. There's not a lot of savings by the COG doing it themselves. You still have to have consultants, you still have to have staffing, you still have to have insurance, you still have to have legal cost. All of that carries over when you start rolling out the programs that you want to initiate.
You have to, I just wanted to add that, I think we mentioned to you last time, we did a call for projects. We asked cities, do you have any projects right now that we have 5 million at $7 million, whatever? We thought we had 5, now we have 7, because they keep giving, it keeps changing. And so we asked our cities, and we have 2 cities that actually can use this first year money. And the question now becomes, and this is, it's interesting, this is what we're learning, is the cities have given us their real estate package of how they would do it, And so we're gonna still need somebody probably for this money to figure out, is that the right deal for us to, be involved in? So these are the kinds of things we have to work out.
And you can pass some of the compliance off on the city if you're diverting your money as a pass through to the city. But ultimately, the compliance responsibility is in the COG if you did that. Even if you gave the money to the city, who then loans it to the developer, you still have to have the COG telling the city, okay, give me all of the compliance requirements because I have to submit it, the COG, to La Casa to ensure that we're doing what we promised.
Just wanted to add to, one of the things the board will probably want to consider is that there are some things, and just to underscore that, I know you brought it up, Adam, but there's some things the COGs can't do, but Housing Trust can do. One is the loans, one is buying property. So there's just certain things the COG is just not set up to do, that we may want to do with our La Casa funds, especially for small cities, because, we can do compliance with Inglewood or compliance with Hawthorne because they have a housing authority. But a small city like Lomita might not be able to have the infrastructure to do some of that stuff. So that's something to consider.
Okay, you have another question right here, Debbie?
Are you done, Jill?
Yeah, I'm done. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I just want to go back to the bonding point, and I'm glad you're saying that we're going to slow down because it is a lot. I would be in favor of having the presentation on bonding, to this group before we make a decision. I think it's important.
Wally, did you have a question?
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me. Can you define a trust that certainly can pay for housing development? Can you actually define that it can buy properties and rehabilitate them? I mean, is it strictly for development or can you change the ownership?
Are you asking, can the trust be the owner of property?
Can the trust set up a situation where they don't build, but they rehab something? Whether they buy it or not, I don't know.
Well, I think the primary purpose of the trust is the financing entities. If you're looking to do what you're saying, San Gabriel set up a community land trust. They've got a COG, they've got a regional housing trust, but then they wanted to buy land, hold it, and even develop it if they wanted to, and they set up a community land trust, which is a separate nonprofit 501c3. So really, the trust is set up to do the financing of the properties and not the development of it.
So if there was a rundown apartment building somewhere, the trust wouldn't go and buy it and rehabilitate it.
So that it could be used for housing.
So it could be used for
It's
housing.
not being used now.
Yeah, that is not the primary intent of what the trust is set up to do. It's more of a financing entity, maybe whole property. I think we wrote into the legislation or JPA to hold property. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also gets, so like La Casa though is set up to do that. So
Yeah.
you could, eligible use is to do a community land trust with our La Casa funds.
Yeah.
So we obviously wouldn't be able to do it because we don't have a trust or a community land trust. So we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to use that portion of the La Casa eligible use case.
So could the trust be used, like you said, financing mechanism? So if the owner wanted to rehab to provide housing, could they get a loan from the trust to do?
That's exactly what they do. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm sure we'll have plenty more, so we'll look forward to seeing you again, but thank you so much.
As you have questions, send them to us, so we,
Please send questions to Jackie so we can ask these later on if they pop up. Okay, I'm gonna go back to, we do have our speaker in attendance, the last speaker, so we're gonna go back to public comment. Thank you, Negrete. If you wanna make your way to the podium.
Hi, good evening. Nikki Grady Mitchell, Redondo Beach, right boy, stakeholder, Gardena Mohican alum, class of 77, and fourth generation South Bay native. Okay, thanks to Hermosa Beach for voting 4-1 to support Redondo Lawndale, the city of Hawthorne on Noda Row, and yes, on Hawthorne Boulevard, and especially Ray Jackson for your kind words. Thank you so much. Do you realize that by supporting the right-of-way hybrid option, you're supporting putting more than 300 age 65+ seniors at risk of displacement? This includes myself, as I'm in a trenching zone, and the significant impacts of 6-year 24/7 construction alone is more than enough to shorten life. I do have a compromised immune system. Are you aware that Torrance Refinery and pipeline owners raise objections to the proposed project due to concerns of breaching internal safety protocols and severe risk to public safety? In their 7-page letter on letterhead buried in thousands of QR generated form letters to the draft EIR, Torrance Refinery refers to risk of incidents, AKA explosions, fires, and this warrants serious consideration. The FEIR offers no consolation, only that they refined their footprint, lessening encroachments on the refinery, but that does not change significant impacts. They indicate they have not worked out, they being Metro, have not indicated that they worked out pipeline issues yet, which poses risks to operations at LAX. It's illogical to think a transit agency knows better than the actual gas and refinery industry experts. Plus, I've been approached by being a staff engineer to refinery and gas professionals who are extremely concerned knowing what they know about risks. The board may certify this NBIR, but with some conditions. Likely, the Dodger Stadium gondola project got certified, but the state Court of Appeals ended up rejecting that FDIR. I read as environmentally non-compliant and demonstrating that issues raised by the public are meaningful and thereby validated. There's another project, Union Station, certified, but with the need for some conditions or supplemental EIR. We're fairly certain with concerns raised by refinery and pipeline companies validating our public concerns, there is very little chance the Sea Line Extension project can be pushed through as currently is. The only solution to all of the above is to route this extension down Hawthorne Boulevard and probably end it at the Galleria to avoid the refinery. And along Hawthorne Boulevard, there's already housing planned at the Galleria and in the city of Lawndale. So this would be a reasonable compromise. A lot of Torrance residents would be relieved, plus that location is highly toxic. So please consider bring it back to your cities to send a letter of support to the Green Line Extension at Metro.net. Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna continue with our program action items, and I think because we just discussed the housing trust, we're gonna pick it off to Ronson to do health and services.
All right, just a few slides, and then Kevin's also going to talk about SE 79 and housing elements too.
1 second, I have a lot of presentations open.
Sorry, yeah. But yeah, just Debbie, you know, for your question, La Casa is going out and doing and bonding their funding. So they're going to turn $50 million a year and turn it into $210 million next year to spend. And there's lots of reasons for that, and we can get into the next steering and board cycle. We have a strategy being planned and laid out for our funding. And one of the considerations will be to whether or not to piggyback on their bonding. So we wouldn't bond ourselves, like we wouldn't pay like investment banking fees or anything like that. We would simply give La Casa some of our portion of the revenues, have them bonded so that we have more money to play with now versus spending a little bit at a time.
But they would charge us an administrative fee. I mean, there is.
There'll be fees and interest, but yeah. So going to the next slide. There we go. So this is what they're planning on doing. They issued a draft NOPA, and their NOPA assumes they will be bonding. And it's $210 million of bonding revenue. And this is how they're going to spend it. Large projects, new construction, 151 million, small projects, $30 million, preservation. So it's kind of what Wally's kind of asking. It's like buying existing units, rehabbing them, and there's going to spend $12 million on that, and then smaller units, $17 million on it. There are a lot of naturally occurring affordable housing in your communities. There's, for example, 81 units right now being on sale in Gardena that have 1-bedroom rents of $1,600. The fear is with interest rates coming down, the BlackRocks of the world, the private equity, are going to buy up these multi-unit complexes. And so instead of charging $1,600 of rent for your constituents, they're going to charge $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom. And so they're going to arbitrage the real estate market. Your real estate market in that way. So that's one of the considerations is move this money up front so that we can intervene quicker and prevent more of our naturally occurring affordable housing being picked up by investors. So next slide. These are all the types of products that they're doing for in their NOFA, pre-development loans, senior construction loans, permanent loans, gap financing, soft loans. They also can issue rental subsidies and operating subsidies. This is their scoring matrix. The affordability is number one. We want to make sure these are affordable and not market rate housing. Affordability, we are required to do 25% extremely low income, so that's 30% AMI. So someone making like around $30,000 a year. And 25% has to be 50% AMI, which is someone making roughly $53,000 a year. Yeah. And so this is their timeline for their NOFA. It's a draft right now. They're doing listening sessions, and this is kind of aggressive, but by February, they're expecting to notify for projects. We have, how this affects you is that developers right now and cities can submit for this NOFA. We are actually working with Inglewood and Hawthorne right now. There's a great project in Inglewood that's ready to go. Talking to Roberto on that. And we are looking to possibly participate in that. What we want to do too is we want to encourage our cities with the developers to also apply for this NOFA so that we can get additional funds for these projects. And so that not only are they getting the COGS funding, but they're also getting the CASA funding as well. And we have a great relationship with the CASA, so we can also facilitate that conversation. And so Hawthorne and Inglewood are two projects. If we were to just go do those two projects, that'd be 120 units, which is great. And it would probably eat up most of our $5 million in production funding. So next slide. That was it for La Casa. Before we get into SB 79, any questions on that? Okay. If not, I'd like to turn it over to Kevin. He's my new housing coordinator, and he did some good research on SB 79. I'll have him take it away.
Hello, everyone. Kevin, housing project coordinator with the COG. Just about to hit 2 months here, so recognizing everyone. Good to see you all. As Ronson said, I did some really high level research on SB 79, which is about to hit its 2-week anniversary from being signed. It was signed on October 10th by Governor Gavin Newsom, and it won't go into effect until July 1st of 2025. And this bill introduces
26.
Yeah, 26. Yeah, thank you for catching that. My mistake. Introduces by right development standards for parcels within a quarter or a half mile of eligible transit stops. And this only applies to lots that are currently zoned for residential, commercial, or mixed use developments. And in the legislation, they've defined transit-oriented developments and categorized them into 2 tiers, which I'll go into in a bit later. But again, here there's some affordable covenant set-asides that are required, 7% for ELI households, or 10% for VLI households, or 13% units for low-income households. And then in the next slide, here are the tiers that I mentioned. Tier 1, consists of heavy rail or very high frequency commuter rail, up to 72 trips per day. And then tier 2, which is all of the eligible stops in the South Bay are only tier 2, and that includes light rail, bus rapid transit stations, and so forth. And then you can build anywhere from 95 feet to 55 feet, depending on the tier you see in front of your screen. And in the next slide. Yes, and then here's a quick snapshot of what these are all the bus rapid transit stops and light rail stations in the South Bay. You can see 2 cities, West Carson and El Segundo are actually not eligible for SB 79 because they have a population of less than 35,000, so they're not eligible. Even though El Segundo has 3 transit stops, they are not eligible for SB 79. But other cities like Redondo Beach, Inglewood, Gardena has a bus rapid transit stop, and Carson as well. So again, this is just very high level research. We're looking more into the bill, and then if you have any questions now, I'd be happy to try and answer them. But if not, I'll save them for a later date so I can make sure to answer those for you.
Brad?
It's my understanding that it's not just transit stops, but it's also planned like rail transit stops. So the Metro K line that will be going down the Hawthorne or the right of way, the planned stations that are in their plan at this moment also count towards these locations. So be good to update that because that adds to Redondo Beach and probably Torrance.
No, the Torrance Planning Director said it is not, it's when it happens.
That would be good.
Yeah,
But we
because it
were,
isn't even designed or
we were
anything.
told it was planned.
No, it's our, from talking with her and the planning directors met today. And I think that they're I don't know if they're saying it doesn't affect them.
So, I mean, if this is a concern for our cities, you know, like you don't want to wake up the next morning and have a 10-story building in one of these transit centers. One of the ideas that I have is that we could potentially get in front of that and say, hey, maybe use the cost of funds to build affordable housing in those locations and preempt any by right bills in these areas. So just throwing that out there. Next slide.
Listen, I thought that bill was going to be in effect starting in 2029. The SB 79. July 1st, 26?
Question on the two bus rapid transit stops, that the requirement includes having a dedicated bus lane. I wasn't aware of any in the
Right.
South Bay, but you're saying those are dedicated bus lanes?
Well, those are just bus rapid transit stops. It's along the.
I think I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
we heard it was dedicated bus lanes.
It's supposed to be dedicated bus lanes, so it, you know, no cars would be in this bus lane traffic. That's the only qualification, is my understanding.
That is,
That
that
would
is,
pull it
that
in.
is near on the 110. Like
I think the J line.
I see.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what that is.
That's right by the harbor. So you're saying anything adjacent to the harbor freeway?
Yeah, yeah.
So where's?
You have a question, Ray?
All right, I was just trying to make sure I was clear. So if you were thinking about possibly dedicating some of your streets to bus lane only, buses only, you're saying that would automatically trigger an SB 79?
Not for Hermosa, because your population is under 30.
No, I'm not just Hermosa, but
35,000, then yeah. Well, actually, no, I don't know.
No, yeah, that is correct. And that is something, you know, some people who are saying that it will potentially have hesitations to plan transit,
Yeah.
which is.
no, you're exactly right. Because, you know, you take, you know, I'll use the Redondo Beach right of way discussion right now. If they just say, hey, listen, we're not gonna go with the train. We're just gonna go with bus only, right? Which makes sense, something they can implement sooner. That would trigger SB 79, what, the entire length of that bus?
If it's a dedicated bus lane.
And except it has to be planned now.
Yeah.
Already in the planning stages.
What, the?
In order, correct.
So, okay, so future consideration
It does not.
does not trigger an SB 79. Got it.
And you said the whole lane, it would not, it would just be like the one stop that wherever it is on.
The one stop within that lane, got it.
Yeah.
Did you also look at stops that may be in the city of Los Angeles or unincorporated county where the radius then goes into the South Bay? Because I believe there are some of those
That's
that
a good question.
impact some of these cities as well.
I know the city of LA's planning department released the map. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's a pretty comprehensive map as well. I don't know.
Because I believe Manhattan Beach has some of the
Yeah.
expanded piece that comes in because they had the radius goes out.
Yeah, the Harbor Gateway area in the city of Los Angeles would affect city of Torrance and possibly Gardena as well.
Oh, can we please look at that? Because I think that the planning directors aren't thinking of that either. Yeah. So let's make sure.
There was a 1/4 mile and a 1/2 mile. What's the difference? Is it a half? Is it a quarter? Is it a quarter in certain places and a half in the other? What is that distinction that I am missing?
Dave, could you go back one slide?
Thank you. I'm
So
slow.
just like the radius from the bus stops. Or the train stop.
So it's like the closer you are, the taller you can build.
Ah, got it. Oh,
And we're all tier 2 at least.
Tier 2 of the.
the closer you are, the higher you can build.
Right.
Wow. Dios mío.
You at least you're protected.
Yeah, but you know.
Okay,
not
any
just
other
about a-
questions? We are a little short on time.
Okay, yeah, I did the housing, the Redondo Beach housing element, I'm sure you guys have read about it. It's basically just saying that housing overlays don't work if the underlying zoning is commercial and not residential, or commercial industrial and not residential. The only thing I want to bring up on this is our LaCosta funds cannot be used in any city that does not have an active housing element. That's being contested right now, so nothing really to update, but just want to throw that out there. That you do have to have a housing element for us to use LaCosta construction funds in your city.
So you have to know, I mean, Brad knows this, HCD put the cities through unbelievable hell over and over and over again. They even suggested overlays. They did all of these things and they tied housing money to it. And Jeff says they tied transportation dollars. That's everything is tied to this. And now they might throw out all the housing elements. So
Brad?
That keeps on giving.
So, yeah, this was discussed at the city managers meeting today, yesterday, whenever they had that. Redondo Beach is going to be contesting that because, yeah, and that means we have to go to the Supreme Court, most likely. So they don't take that many cases. So any city that has a housing overlay is at risk of having your housing element decertified.
By the court, not by HCD.
By the court.
Yeah, that's,
So,
how does it make sense?
but that means anybody who wants to do a builder's remedy will sue you and get it decertified by the court, which is what happened in Redondo Beach.
Can you
So,
guys go fix this for us?
well, we would,
Thank you. We're behind you. Thank you.
yes, that's what we want. We want to know what cities have a overlay housing element so that they can join in and said whether it be sign on to an amicus brief or anything like that. So just make sure you bring it back and you find out if your city has an overlay and contact our city and make sure that we're all coordinated.
Are we
Almost
able to send
everybody
it out
did an
to the
overlay,
entire
didn't they?
We're trying to make a
Yeah,
list.
the city managers are in communication with each other, so I don't, but what we heard today, I guess, from the community development directors was that like that attorney that is doing district elections and has devoted his career to doing district elections. There's this guy who's dedicated to doing this with your housing element.
He's got a lot of money to sue you all, apparently.
Yeah, he's doing stuff in Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Redondo.
Site for this case that you're thinking of, doing the amicus brief on? Do you have the case site?
No, we haven't brought it yet, so.
No, I mean, didn't you say it would have to be brought to the,
Yes,
to the Supreme Court? So I mean, it's at the Court of Appeal?
yes, it's been through the Court of Appeals and we've
Okay.
lost in the. Court of-
That's the site I
Like
want.
you look.
What
Yes.
You could.
It was sent out to the city managers. They have all of this.
Okay, John.
I just want to read it.
If you
I'm a
Google-
lawyer of the group, so she's.
I have a comment, I think the previous presentation, and about private equity stepping in and making its move before we can make a move at the local level. The problem I have, and some of you may be aware of the Project Home Key Plus attempt with our Extended Stay America unit on Torrance Boulevard. The applicant subsequently pulled their application. However, Extended Stay America was purchased by one of the, or two of the Blackstone real estate funds. The problem I have is that CalPERS and CalSTRS invest in these private equity funds. Rather than CalPERS investing in our local cities directly. So I know I've raised this before and at the Cal League, and I'm going to bring it up maybe more specifically, that instead of CalPERS simply going through approved fund managers at these PE firms and placing money with them, why isn't a certain percentage of the endowment fund being set aside so that we can, if we're supposed to meet these RENA mandates, we have the funding. It's not an unfunded mandate anymore, but there is funding coming from PERS to allow us to move forward. I think the financing piece is the missing piece. And by the time we get any money, we're behind the eight ball because private equity already has a ton of money by way of our pension funds and can move faster.
But they have a better return than we would.
Nah, I don't know about that. Okay, I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll be sure to look out for that on Redondo Beach.
No, it's on senior services. But, skip that part.
Skip that. Okay, well, we do have to go back to A to vote on the LA Council District 15 to amend the JPA to allow a non-elected alternate.
Okay, the issue here, and I think we might have discussed it before, is that the current JPA says that every city must have an elected alternate. And when the county came into the COG, we revised the JPA to allow, the supervisors said that they realistic, even though they go to other COGs, I found out, they would not come to our COG because they, I guess some in the other, maybe not your supervisor, but anyway, they wanted to have a high level person, either their chief of staff or a senior staff person as their alternate. And at the time, the board said, fine, but and the city of LA actually mentioned, what about us? And the board at that time said, no, cities only have to have elected officials. Well, the city of LA is somewhat like the county because Councilmember McCosker doesn't really have someone in his jurisdiction that is elected. We've always used District 11, which is currently Tracy Park's district, as the alternate, but that person has no interest in what we're doing here. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So Councilman McCosker has asked us to amend our joint powers authority to allow a non-elected alternate for the city of Los Angeles. It would be the same wording as the county, senior staff or chief of staff. And your staff, us, are recommending that we approve this amendment. The dues have come in from Los Angeles, so they are a member. Was iffy before, but now they are a member. So, so we recommend that, and that's the item on the agenda. And should you approve this, David has a draft JPA amendment in the agenda, and that's what would go out to your cities. We would encourage your cities, since this is very simple, to do it as fast as possible so that we can start getting representation from the city of LA.
It was already reviewed by Mike Jenkins.
Oh,
It wasn't just me drafting it.
That was
Already reviewed by the attorney,
Right.
so if there are no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. What was the second?
Ray Jackson. Okay, any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay.
Just an observation. It'd be helpful if you want to get this thing approved in a timely fashion, if you could send whatever our staff could include in a consent agenda or whatever to facilitate approval.
Our council meeting's coming up.
Okay,
Mine is too late for the 28th.
so you want a staff report from us?
Well, yeah, just something that they could
Yes.
stick into a consent agenda.
It's not gonna be until November
A
12th.
draft resolution.
Something, yeah, whatever.
We understand it's gonna take a while. You have to go, but we will write a staff report.
Okay, great. We're gonna move along to General Assembly site recommendation.
You want to do this?
I-
Want me to start?
So as we kind of updated you all last month, we've been looking at alternative sites to the Carson facility that we normally go to. At steering committee, we had already visited Cosm and Intuit Dome. Steering committee kind of brushed Intuit Dome off the list and was interested in Cosm. We had a couple more site visits that were scheduled for later that week. One at the DoubleTree in San Pedro, right in the marina. The Crafted Warehouse nearby in San Pedro. And then the West Drift Hotel in Manhattan Beach, and then the Alta Sea also in San Pedro. And I mentioned West Drift. After that meeting, we got the COSM proposal back. It was about 125,000. And we think that that price unfortunately knocked it off of the contender list. Our fundraising goal for the GA each year is 60,000, so we'd have to double the fundraising just to hopefully break even. And so unfortunately, I think that one's a non-contender at this point. Still waiting for the final proposals from West Drift, and we got the DoubleTree, Alta Sea, and Crafted.
And Carson.
Carson, we generally know because we've been,
But we did ask.
we did ask
We
for
did
one,
ask,
but
but we haven't received it yet.
yeah, but we have a historical
Yeah.
understanding of that one at least. Last year we had looked at the West Drift also. And before Carson waived the facility fee, they were actually very competitive. After Carson waived the fee, it was like $4,000 or $5,000 cheaper to go back to Carson.
I think we should add that the West Drift, it's the hotel that used to be the Marriott on Rosecrans and.
Right.
And the most interesting thing, when we went to see it, it really does have a tie. That's where all the sports teams stay. The Rams stay there, the Chargers stay there, the FIFA people are all staying there, the Olympic teams are gonna stay there. So there is it's sort of a sports and tourism kind of combination, so there's a connection there.
And so I think if they're able to come in close to what Carson is, again, I think staff might recommend that for a few $1,000s more, it might be worth going to that location, particularly because we think we might also be able to get additional sponsorships because of the theme of this year's program that we've not really been able to tap into before. CASA might be interested in being a sponsor, for example, or something like that. And so,
Yeah, we're not ready to make a recommendation. Unfortunately, we've been begging them for their proposals, but we don't have them. So we're hoping that you'll let us take this to the steering committee, if we can firm up something that we'll just recommend something there and start working on the site for you to get the site. And we do have 2 sponsors for the next year. We have SCE came in at $5,000 and the gas company at $2,500.
What our rights are going.
Any comments? Are we okay with the steering committee making the recommendations since we don't have the bids?
Yeah.
That's okay with me. Can I go to those? So anybody else?
Whatever you say.
Okay, no opposition, we'll do that. Okay, I'm gonna move it along to environmental services.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. So I wanted to announce that Gardena has hit the platinum level for their effort. We get some energy in here. Late at night.
Had to keep up with Torrance.
And of course, we have our event coming up on almost November, not November, in December 11th. And it will be in the city of Lawndale. It's 11 to 1. You should have received an invite, I believe, if you haven't, let me know. We have a keynote speaker, which is Rita Kampola, see if I can say it correctly. She's a LA County Chief Sustainability Officer. She's gonna be our keynote speaker for that day. And I think, we've had such a great success with that event. We had, usually we have at least one city staff person from every city as well as like several council members come, which is really exciting also to show your support. So I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of other things. You'll see my actual staff report to you that's in the agenda packet. I have removed the rest of the incentive opportunities because it's pretty much done for the end of the year and there's not really that much available yet until next year. And so I'll come back to you with those opportunities again next year, probably like around February, those will be released. And, but I also wanted to show you, I put one, I haven't gotten to you yet, Ray, but you'll see this report that I gave you all and these are city specific. And so as you're thinking about your awards next year, I hope that you look at these documents and we're hoping to do them a couple times a year. And so what it shows you is at the top here, analysis, and this is the work that the COG has done in coordination with the SoCal REN to identify opportunities for energy efficiency. So that's what you see at the top here. The next section, well, some cities are very small. I mean, yours is very small because you've done a lot of work already. The next set are projects that are identified. So that is additional projects that could be done. And this is an initial analysis that's done for you. And so you'll see what the incentive is, what the city would have to pay, what the total cost of the project is, the annual savings a year, and then the energy savings a year, and then what the next step is. And really what we want to do is try to use these sheets to really help these projects along. Because sometimes people don't realize how much they can actually save, what they could save their city if they just put in, you know, a little bit. And it doesn't have to be city money up front. So for example, we can work with like your finance directors, your finance staff to do on-bill financing. Like there's ways that these can be paid for, like through your regular utility bills. That's no additional cost to the city. And then, you know, if there's a payback period, I think in El Segundo, we have one that's not even like, only like a year. The project pays for itself. And then that's continued savings year after year after year. So I wanted to, so that's on that list. And if you see something that you want to get done right away, let me know. And then the next one on the back is your completed project. So the cities have done a ton of work already. And so we wanted to recognize that as well. And the bottom section are your highest utility accounts. So when you're thinking about your investment and what you want to put your city dollar towards, those are the buildings that you might want to look at first. Sometimes you can't do as much with them. Like if you have a computer, you know, station in the bottom and it's using a lot of, you know, energy for not only running the equipment, but like cooling the system and things like that. But, you know, this is a good way to look at this sheet. So, is there any questions on this? Pete?
What does the acronym HPWH mean?
HPWH. I think it's I think you're looking at HVAC system, but I'll look at your sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's no legend, so.
Okay, good point, though. I'll put a legend on there. Good job.
Any other questions?
Like, whatever.
Eagle eye.
Looks like they're not.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. We're skipping senior services and going to transportation reports. Mayor Butts, did you have an update?
I do. The end of the day was pretty short. Most of the time spent expressing our appreciation for Chief Financial Officer Nalini Aoa. And she's retiring in November. And she's just been a real great asset to Metro. She did 39 years. We approved and certified final supplemental EIR for the Link Union Station project. And that project is expected to improve the overall efficiency of MetroLink, Amtrak, and the future California High-Speed Rail Authority if the FTA continues funding. This would reduce the amount of time and serve patrons traveling to and through Los Angeles Union Station by reducing the amount of time it takes trains to arrive and depart Union Station by up to 30 minutes per train. We also approved Protect Our Small Business motion that was led by Mayor Bass, the Metro's commitment to sustaining and expanding opportunities for disadvantaged business enterprises, small business enterprises, and other historically underrepresented and ensure that Metro continues to advance economic equity in the context of the U.S. Department of Transportation. Recently, they issued an interim final rule that immediately changes to how disadvantaged business enterprises DBE certifications are evaluated. And as to any comments I might make regarding the C-line FEIR, I was happy to support the COG's desire to push the item in the next year, probably January or February, depending on what other issues need to come before us. And I will tell you, as far as my thoughts on the FEIR, no matter whether we approve the LPA of the hybrid row alternative or the Hawthorne alternative, for me, and this is the point that I'm going to make, it just boils down to show me the money. I don't believe that the money exists to do this, and it's causing a lot of anxiety for something that I don't think that's really important. That's it. The gap's about 1.3 billion right now.
Any questions? Thank Thank you so much, David.
Yeah, just have a quick Measure M update. We have met with almost all of your cities at this point. Madam Chair, I think the only appointment I need to make is with your Public Works Department. So if you will, ping them for us. This is the kickoff to our annual, process, and, what's a little bit different this year is this is the first year of the local allocation program that you all approved earlier in the year. So at the end of October, I should be getting a fiscal year 29-30 allocation from Metro, which we will then spread out 10% of that to each city by the formula you all approved. And so hopefully November 1st or the beginning of November, we'll send out an announcement with the actual allocation and what that is. And your cities can all start thinking about how you might want to use that money. So.
Thank you. So the update for micromobility.
I think that, I guess I can just say that we're still meeting with cities on micromobility. We're working with the Beach Cities area, and Carson to the Sea is progressing, and also Lawndale and Lomita. Redondo Beach is going to be getting started shortly. What we're doing, and we're going to be at the Hawthorne City Council on Tuesday night to talk about I'm having trouble remembering it. We told this group that we're from lessons learned on the LTN, travel network. We're and right now it's an inner city network. It's not an intracity network. We're trying to reduce the number of signs because people that live in the community know how to get to where they're going. And so we want to make sure that our signage helps people cross protected intersections and are really where they, which is what we try to do in El Segundo, not blind signs everywhere, but where people need to know that here's a stoplight, here's a safer way to do it, we're going to do it. We learned a lot in El Segundo from that. So we're going to talk to our other cities about it as we move forward. And I guess Hawthorne is our next presentation.
Thank you. Who's doing chair?
We're meeting with, both of those projects are moving along. I don't really have much of an update on the redevelopment to housing or micromobility hubs, other than they're on track and our consultants are working to gather the information. Oh, I should say, the commercial redevelopment to housing is developing a data tool for your cities to use to assess the viability of properties for changing into commercial into housing.
South Bay Fiber.
Oh, in the South, oh my gosh, I don't know why I don't read the agenda. South Bay, South Bay Fiber Network. We've been meeting with internet service providers. We have a company that looks really interesting, and it seems to be really wanting to expand. We obviously were not happy with the last dance that we did with the previous guy. So we're trying to get pro formas and really understand the viability. We're also working with Dave Daigle, who owns American Dark Fiber, that is the owner of the partnership that we have. And so far, he's happy with this new company too, but he has the same caution that we do. It's going to be another couple of weeks. I should mention to you that we have an expert among you, and that's Gardena Councilman Mark Henderson, who is an IT director. And so we have a meeting next week with Mark Henderson and their Gardena's IT person, who is really great, Alex Kendall. He's fantastic. And we're having them meet the new owner, the new prospective people that we've been talking with, because they'll have better questions to ask than I will. And so so we thought the next step would be to go to Mark and Alex, and then we can come back to you with a better recommendation. So that's where we are with the fiber network. It looks good so far. AI forum series. We're we didn't call it a working group because everybody's invited to come. So we decided that was the wrong name. So the AI forum series is going to start next week. There's page 73 of your agenda has a flyer. What we want to do at that meeting, it's at 3 o'clock. And what we want to do at that meeting is ask cities what they're doing, like Hawthorne's chatbot, Lawndale's chatbot. Rancho Palos Verdes apparently is using it for their planning documents. And then what kinds of subjects that you want to hear about in the future so that we can then invite the right speakers. So please come or have or have somebody from your staff there so that we can all advance to the next step of we should invite and what the topic of our next forum will be. Did you want to report on the COG chairs? Okay. Bernadette, our chair, and the chair of San Gabriel Valley COG came up with the idea that all the COG chairs in LA County should meet. So at the League of California Cities conference, right after the LA Division lunch, we all sat in the room and we had a meeting. I was incredibly surprised that the San Gabriel Valley COG chair said that he wanted to form an association of COGs in LA County. Yeah, COGs. And so, but he agreed that that's a long way down the road, but we should meet. So there's gonna be a meeting in January and all of the COG officers will be invited from all of there's 7 COGs in LA County. And we're all very, very different. I mean, and so we'll see if there's any, I think the places that we have commonality are working with La Casa. I mean, we all are under these same guidelines and it's a little crazy working with the county. And one of the things we came up with, which no one seems to be doing, is monitoring the government reform task force that's looking at the county expansion. Because the way the supervisors are redistributed does affect you. And maybe we should be monitoring that and maybe making some statements about it. So, so that came, Jeff, did anything else come out of that, really? You were there.
I wasn't there.
Oh,
I wanted to be, but I couldn't.
sorry. Okay. Well, Jeff helped us arrange it.
I did.
So, it was a good meeting in January. All the officers will be invited, so watch for a date. I think it was very good to get everybody together. On the other, I have to tell you because it was shocking to us what happened here yesterday. As you remember, about 6 months ago, we said, we meet with all the department heads, we meet with all the city managers, the park directors, all those people, but we don't meet with anybody else in the city. And so what if we had a meeting for city staff to orient them on what is the COG and to help them understand that we're here to help them with their job and they can help us when we call to do the things we do. And so we got 70 RSVPs. We were absolutely bowled over and 36 people attended, which was really good. The room was filled and we had, we had 8 cities. I think it was 8 cities attended with a lot of representatives from their cities. We got great feedback. We are sending an evaluation. They all said, definitely do this in 6 months again. And I guess they came because they heard that it was good the first time. We don't know. But it was
Maybe
wonderful.
it was the food. No, no, just kidding.
We did have good food, yeah. We had,
Snacks.
yeah, we had good snacks.
We have like a food.
Yeah, no, we had snacks. We just had snacks.
You bet.
Yeah,
They still came.
No, it was amazing. And what's also nice about it is, in the big group, they didn't ask questions. I kept saying ask questions, but they stayed, everybody stayed, and we had the staff here and they would go up to people that they wanted to talk to. So we were all around the room to help them and they stayed and they must have been here for another half hour after it was over.
Yeah, and like even Torrance, I don't know, did Torrance leave? Oh, no, yeah, so like Torrance staff was asking for help for one of your awards, like we could help fill out the awards, like there was a lot of great.
Right.
Lot of questions and a lot of ways that we can really help to extend your staff, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was such a great meeting. So if you hear anything about it from your side, please let us know, because we want to keep making it better and better. But if you want, I'll just go into upcoming events. That you've got Kim told you about the technology showcase. We're very anxious to get your cities here because that's next Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the morning, because the vendors will be here to help with their facilities. That's HVAC, lighting. We're gonna have the certified vendors in the room, and your city facility people can come and say, is my budget realistic? Can I do this? What's a good machine? Whatever. Any questions? On the 30th, I don't have it down here, but I've been sending you a lot of emails. We have a tour of the ballot processing center. I sent it to the city clerks, and we have a lot of city clerks coming. And those city clerks that are not coming have sent me emails saying, this is really worth your time. So I just want to let you know that. I thought that it would be good because when your constituents come up to you and say, gee, I'm concerned about the ballot process, you could say, I've been there, I've seen it. So, and that's where our city ballots get counted.
Rigged.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're not gonna let you know. So it's next Thursday at 11 o'clock, and we're carpooling from here. For anybody who wants to carpool, and I have several elected officials, and looks good. But please sign up for it if you can. And if anybody in your city wants to go, on your staff, let them know. October 30th, as I mentioned, is the AI Forum Series. Next meeting, don't come on Thanksgiving, we're no turkey here. We're gonna have our meeting on November 20th, which is a week before. It's the week before, and we're starting at 4 o'clock with an open house, because we've never shown off our new office. So we're having an open house, and then we're having our regular annual volunteer recognition. We have wonderful volunteers now, and we want to thank them for all they do for us. And then December 11th is the Energy and Recognition Awards, and January 22nd, I put this down because I think it's going to be really interesting. January 22nd is our board meeting, but at 4 o'clock that day, Derek Lazaro, who is a council member in the city of Palos Verdes Estates and the CIO of Nossaman Attorneys. He's an attorney, but he's also a cyber expert kind of person. He wants to have a discussion on cybersecurity in cities, and he is going to bring with him FBI agents who work in that field as well and can give case studies and stories. So this is for your you and your staff. We send a flyer around. No, he's giving me information. I will be creating a flyer to send around, but it's January 22nd before the January board meeting. Should be very, very interesting. And I think that concludes all of our things.
When are you having the flyer for that?
As soon as he gets me the information.
Okay, just trying to get as soon as I'm sending them out, as we do here.
Okay, perfect. With that, it's already 8:02, so we're gonna adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
What's the date of the ballot center?
30th.
Good to see.
Oh,